Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Red Devils TV. So this is a tactical review of Erik Ten Hag's system. As we know, pre-season is upon us, and Manchester United have recently played Leeds last week, and we beat them 2-0. And recently, we've also beat Lyon 1-0. And there's a certain tactic that I've noticed throughout Erik Ten Hag's time over these last two games. And he seems that he's going to be going for this new formation, especially when attacking for our season in the Premier League. So it's kind of evident and noticeable, and I'll show you quickly about how it is. So this is currently how Manchester United set up, and the way I'll just quickly show you now. So obviously we have the 4-2-3-1. Obviously we've got Rashford here, and we've got mainly Garnacho and Fernandes, and this will be also Mason Mount, Casemiro, Antony, and the back line. So what I want to talk about is that this is probably going to be the standard formation that United set up upon. And what I want to see as well is that obviously United's issue over the last season is scoring goals. United don't win by many goals. We do win by fine margins, and we do rely on players like Marcus Rashford, like Bruno Fernandes. It was like Fred or McTominay or Sabitzer last season, but now we do have Mason Mount, who's an absolute pressing machine. And I want to talk about why Mason Mount is so important this season for Manchester United, but also Antony as well. Antony is a player that we do need to see more upon, and he does need to be more consistent in the new season. But as well with the back line, it is going to be equally as important. So as I was talking about, that's the standard formation that Manchester United are probably going to set up with. And also I just want to say that make sure you leave a like on the video. If you don't like me, then that's fine. You don't have to like the video, but it does really help out the channel. And comment in the comments as well, and what you think of this new formation that Erik Ten Hag is going to be exploring. So what I want to talk about here is this bit. Where is it? Here it is. So as we've talked about, that this is where the tactics are going to lay out. Currently, right now, this is how we're going to be sorting out. Like Martial is our only current striker that Manchester United do have. And obviously, you've got Marcus Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, Antony, Casemiro, Mason Mount, Shaw, Martinez, Varane, and Dalot, and our new keeper in Andre Onana. So the way that the system is going to unfold is that I do believe that Mason Mount, Marcus Rashford, Casemiro, and Bruno Fernandes, mainly this left-hand side here, are going to be the most important players. And I'll just quickly show you here with the highlighting that all these players in this area are going to be the most important in the squad, I believe. Because with these three players, this is where everything creates, and that's where Erik Ten Hag is wanting his team to play. So let me go on to this part here with how Erik Ten Hag's new system is going to be unfolding. Now, if you see it looks a lot differently, and we've seen this in the game against Lyon, and we've seen the game against Leeds, where all the players, we've gone for a back three, and whether it's Heaton or Matic Kovar in the goal, we do see that the goalkeeper is constantly on the edge of their own box and helping progress the ball forward with the long distribution passes, whether it's to the overlapping right back in Diogo Dalot, who makes it makes it more attacking. But right now, due to pre-season, that has been Gerardo or Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And then obviously I'm just doing that. This is how the team is going to shape up when we do have the Premier League. And obviously we do have the game against Arsenal tomorrow. That preview will be out tomorrow morning, so stay tuned for that. And we are going to be talking about, now we're going up against a more threatening team, and our main squad players are in the team. We'll be able to see this type of formation unfold. But as we see that the right back in Diogo Dalot becomes almost an extra attacker. And he goes from the right back position, where obviously you have Varane, Martinez, and Shaw, and then that back three almost becomes on the halfway line constantly, suppressing and putting the opposition on the back foot. But with Diogo Dalot, he almost becomes a secondary attacker that stays out wide, which allows a player like Antony to drift inside and stay on the edge of the box and become an extra attacking threat. I mean, you see players like Casemiro on the edge, nearly pretty much over the halfway line, Mason Mount. And obviously this does expose us to a quick counter-attack, but that's what you're going to do when you do these type of risks with this type of formation. Man City are also known for taking these risks, and they do get punished on the counter-attack at times. It happened with Manchester United last season. City was suppressing us in the derby at Old Trafford. And what happened? United ended up winning 2-1 because of a player like Garnacho who came on, who was relentless with pressing and everything. But yeah, obviously right now, I've only put Martial in the team as well because he's our only current striker. But no doubt that will be Højlund in a few weeks, hopefully. Or it could be another striker. I'm not too sure yet. But with this formation, you see that it's very attacking. It's to suppress the backline. And the reason as well I've gone for Diogo Dalot over Aaron Wan-Bissaka is that despite Aaron Wan-Bissaka's resurgence in getting back into the team, Diogo Dalot suits this system a lot more. And I'll tell you why, because for me, the reason why I believe that Diogo Dalot is a lot more suited for this system is because at the end of the day, with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, he, despite him, like I said, his resurgence of getting back into the team, he's also still one of them players where his attacking ability still lacks something, is what I'm trying to say. So with Diogo Dalot, who's a lot more comfortable going forward, I think that he's going to be the main starting right back, and I can understand why. But realistically, this is what Erik Ten Hag has wanted to do the entirety of last season. And we saw it in the first two games against Brighton when we lost 2-1 and against Brentford when we lost 4-0. And you saw that when we lost, when we beat when we beat Liverpool, the following game after the Brentford loss, we did go back to this type of formation with the 4-2-3-1. And let me just get rid of this. And with this formation, we did see, and this was kind of what we stuck with for the rest of the season, with the 4-2-3-1. Obviously, Mount wasn't here, but we'll just ignore that for now. Obviously, we'll just quickly take him off. Let's say, put Mount here for now, and then just put like someone like Eriksen. I haven't put Fred in the team because apparently we are selling Fred. But Eriksen, for example, let's say Eriksen is the player that was in there. And what would happen is that we had the deep line player in Casemiro as the deep midfielder breaking up all the play. And they had an extra attacking midfielder in Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes, almost making it a front five almost. And yes, United just weren't scoring enough goals. We were creating chances. Obviously, that was massive help from Bruno Fernandes, who did create the most chances in the Premier League last season. But with Bruno Fernandes as well, he created the most chances of anyone in the Premier League, and we just didn't have a natural striker. Martial was constantly in and out of the squad. Marcus Rashford did end up having a brilliant brief period, scoring lots of goals left, right and centre. But United do need that out-and-out goal scorer. And same with Antony now. Antony has been brilliant for us, but he's also been very inconsistent, and I want to see more consistent performances from Antony this season. Anyway, let's see who's in the chat. And Phoenix Knight saying, evening, Dan. Nice tan. Onana has been added to fantasy football for 5 million. Do you think that's a fair price for him? Yes, I do play fantasy football. And if you do want to join, I will put a link in the description down below for our personal fantasy football. So if you do want to join. But yes, Phoenix, I do want to say that Onana, I do think it's a fair price. When you've got players like Alisson and Edison who are on 5.5 million, and you've got players like Nick Pope and Martinez, who are also 5 million. I would say that's a fair price because Onana has come in. He is going to be he's one of the top keepers in Europe, I say, and especially with distribution. So I do think it's a very fair price for him. And Moses says, what's up, Dan? Nice to see you. Sorry for coming late. You don't have to apologise at all, man. Good to have you back. Thank you very much, mate. It's glad to be back. And Kimmich as well, the GOAT, saying hello. Nice to see you again, pal. So anyway, let's move back on to, obviously, the formation. And this is how we were set up last season with, wait 1 second, I'm just getting my mouse back up. Where is it? There it is. So obviously we had Eriksen, let's say here, and Bruno Fernandes. So what happened was obviously the 4-2-3-1 was the established formation that Erik Ten Hag and Manchester United did go for the majority of last season. And we did pretty well with it. I'm not going to lie. We did do pretty well, considering we did get third place after the injuries of the likes of Martinez and Raphael Varane. We did see a lot better, but even so, we kind of saw a back three of what Manchester United were trying to create, but it was more involving Casemiro to drop back. As let's say, for example, we saw like when United were attacking, we would have like the likes of Varane, Martinez, and Casemiro around the halfway line, not above it, around the halfway line, and then you'd have more Antony and Rashford almost in the edge of the box. And the fullbacks would become more like secondary midfielders, which would help us out a lot. And when it came to creating, but we were vulnerable when it was coming to the break and counter attack. So I do want to admit that obviously we've got the football here. So what it's going to be like with Onana this season is that the level that this guy shows the distribution. I'm going to do a complete breakdown video on Andre Onana, but the way he can just hoof a ball to Marcus Rashford accurately, because let's say for example we had David De Gea. let's just pretend that Onana right now is David De Gea, he would hoof a ball to try and to Marcus Rashford. It would go somewhere near here, and you've got Marcus Rashford then having to run out of position to do there. And then by then you've got, let's say, for example, two centre backs that would have swarmed Marcus Rashford, and then they would have got back in time then, and they would have done something like this. And then Marcus Rashford is then having to rely on someone like Luke Shaw to come and help him to turn and pass the ball. And then by then they're also moving forward and blocking Luke Shaw's accurate pass. And that's where United struggled with attacking, because obviously Luke Shaw is very accurate with crosses, and sometimes he would meet the central striker. But again, with Luke Shaw, and we're just going to ignore this now, but with everything, I do believe that with Manchester United, I do think that this new formation, let's get it back up, with the, where has it gone? With the 3-1-6 formation, it is really to overload the opposition. And this formation is definitely going to work against teams like Crystal Palace, the lowest teams that do play the low block, like your Evertons and players like that. Because even when Manchester United played Everton last season, you did see this type of formation, because Everton play so deep and play so open. You can play like this against teams like Everton, but it's games like Man City and Liverpool. This is when it's going to be a challenge to go toe-to-toe with these big giants in football. So I just really hope that Manchester United can find a way to stay consistent and do, because I just feel like as well with Mason Mount, so many people criticising when we first made this signing, saying that we need a striker, we need a goalkeeper. Why are we signing Mason Mount? Mason Mount was called Eriksen's replacement by certain people with big fan bases and for certain big fan channels. And Mason Mount, for me, is why I explained it to him. You don't understand what he's going to bring to Manchester United. He's not going to bring many goals and assists. We already know that. But he will track back, unlike Christian Eriksen. He will put tackles in, unlike Fred. He's got the pace, unlike McTominay. He's what we need. And I personally feel like with a partner like Casemiro, who's a veteran and a grandmaster at defending, Mason Mount doesn't really have to do much defending. He needs to track back to help Casemiro. That's what needs to happen 100% when United are coming back. Let's say, for example, we take a shot, let's say, obviously, like Onana starts the attack, it goes to Diogo Dalot, and Mason Mount and Casemiro are over here. Mason Mount asks for the ball, and Mason Mount, let's say, for example, passes to Bruno Fernandes, and Bruno Fernandes shoots, and the goalkeeper saves it, for example. So they'll obviously kick the ball then, and then let's say we'll have a defender here, and they'll be on the counter-attack almost. So then when Casemiro, Varane, and Martinez and Shaw are all breaking away, we then can't, like Diogo Dalot, this is why he needs to be very important. He needs to be sprinting back, because Diogo Dalot's only chore and only request and instruction is to be running up and down that game all game long. And whether that's obviously with Diogo Dalot or whether it's with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, whoever one it is, that the right back has to be constantly running up and down constantly. But they're not being asked to be an inverted midfielder. They're not asking to stay back while attacking. They're not asking to constantly stay forward and be a natural winger. They're all asking to be running back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and help with the build-up in possession. But as I say with Mason Mount needs to be constantly running up and down that pitch, being that actual box-to-box midfielder that he says he wants to be. So what he needs to do is constantly running up and down, help with the playmaking, and feed it to players like Bruno Fernandes, who will be playing just above him, feeding it out wide to players like Antony and Rashford, and obviously Martial or Højlund, whoever it's going to be. You do want to be feeding them the ball. But I do feel like that with this formation, it is going to overload and swamp so many teams. And this is where I feel like this is where you're going to see the next step of Erik Ten Hag. And let me just get myself back here. So what I was saying, that with Erik Ten Hag, we're going to see a complete different Manchester United. He's now got the players that he wants to try and suit this system. And he kind of wants these players, because last season it was all about getting the fitness ready. And let's just see the comments. And Phoenix says that now United is near enough the Ajax team Erik Ten Hag had. Do you think United can challenge for the league? I do think it's too soon. I do believe that. I won't get my hopes up. I do feel like that the pressure is kind of off Manchester United for once for being in that title challenge. Man United haven't been in a title challenge since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and even that wasn't a proper race. But I do feel like with Arsenal now have the most valued squad in the entirety of Europe. So Arteta needs to win silverware this season, and if not, I do think that the fans and the board are going to be on his back, because they'll be saying if Arteta and Arsenal have a poor start to the season, the fans will be on his back, because they started great last season with a more inaccurate squad and a more unvalued squad. They've now brought in Jurrien Timber, Declan Rice, and Kai Havertz, and the expectation of them is going to be challenging for league. They've recently came second, challenging for Man City, losing out on the last few weeks. And now they're going to be expected to win the league. And that's why they've had this £200 million investment. The reason why Manchester United haven't had that investment yet is because, one, we're run by the Glazers, and two, United don't show any promise in challenging for the league. And obviously, yes, United did win the Carabao Cup last season, but I don't know how we did that, because we weren't playing to Erik Ten Hag standards. That system is what I'll just grab it up again. One second. Where's it gone? Oh my God, I've had an absolute mare here. It is. So this formation is what I was talking about. The formation with this is obviously this is the formation that Erik Ten Hag has wanted to play all last season for Manchester United. But when you've got players like Harry Maguire, Fred, Eriksen, and David De Gea, you can't play this type of expansive football. And this is exactly the way Ten Hag played with his Ajax team once he got the players to a certain level. And well, obviously Ajax players as well, they're developed to be the next, right? If you're good enough in the Ajax academy, you pretty much play for the first team for Ajax, and that's the beauty of the way they run their football club. But Moses also says that, does he have the agility and strength for tracking back? With Anthony Marsh, I'm guessing you mean by Mason Mount at that point, but he definitely has the agility and strength. I wouldn't say that he's a dominant physical threat, but it's the fact that kind of like Phil Foden, because you see Phil Foden, he's not a physicality beast, but when it comes to strength, he uses his body weight to the correct standard, and he uses it to nudge players off the ball or put players on or under pressure when he's toe to toe with them, or when he's shoulder to shoulder with them when they're on the counter attack, and he does have to do that defensive work. So Moses, he does have the agility, definitely. He's a very quick player, but when it comes to strength, he doesn't. Like, his defensive awareness is very good. I'd say strength wise, he's not, like I said, he's not very physical. But neither's a player like Bruno Fernandes or Antony, but they also get stuck in, and that's what I like to see from Mason Mount. And plus, we've got Casemiro, who's an absolute juggernaut anyway. Simon Davis also says that even everybody building through the lines, I feel. Moses also says that good evening, Simon, to you, Simon Davis. And Moses also says that, is Ten Hag still signing Sonyan Amrabat? Now, I'm not too sure about this. Now, something did come out today about Amrabat, that his desired league to play in is the La Liga. And because obviously he's from Morocco, so Morocco is obviously just on the borders of Spain. It's the top and the northern part of Africa. So with Amrabat, he is from Morocco, and it does make sense that he does want to play in a league like La Liga. But when Fiorentina are valuing at about 15 to 20 million euros, I think that's a must buy. And I think that if Erik Ten Hag sells in the project, he will definitely be on board. And realistically, I don't think Amrabat is that good of a player to be starting for a Real Madrid or a Barcelona. He would definitely come in and be a squad player. And I think that's exactly why Erik Ten Hag also wants Amrabat to be a squad player for Casemiro. Or, for example, if we're in the Champions League and we draw someone like Real Madrid or Man City, on them away games, you do, when they're going to press you and attack you a lot more, you need that extra defensive cover, and that's where a player like Amrabat will be used vitally throughout Erik Ten Hag's system. And I think for the price that he's being valued at, he's a must buy in my opinion, because I would have valued him at about maybe 25 to 30 million. So for me, I think it's an absolute bargain. Simon says, as a blue, I will say this now, you should be grateful to have Erik Ten Hag. It will take time. And that's the thing, and that's with obviously last season, it's took time. And now throughout pre-season, He's seen what players are exciting. He's going to experiment this. He's now got the new distribution goalkeeper in Andre Onana. He's got the pressing midfielder from Mason Mount. Realistically, all Erik Ten Hag needs is an out-and-out goal scorer to go to that next step and have an established starting 11. And that's when maybe January, if we are lucky to sign another striker, if we don't sign one this summer, or the summer afterwards, that's when you're going to start seeing the team improving. But I think this season's all about establishing the starting 11 and getting the perfect players who and sticking to this system that Erik Ten Hag does want to explore. Elaine Caulfield says that, where do you think United will finish in the league next season, and will we have a run in the cups? I do hope that we do go for another domestic cup. I would take any cup because I think that silverware is silverware, and the fact that the Premier League is so competitive. You've got teams like, obviously, Man City. You've got Liverpool, who are definitely going to come back. Newcastle, Arsenal, Manchester United. You've now got Aston Villa. Chelsea are no doubt going to improve under Pochettino. Spurs. United, like the Premier League now, there's like 8 world-class teams that can win silverware, and that's what makes the Premier League the most competitive and best league in the world. As a United fan, I do want to say that I do hope we have a good run in some cups. I don't care which one it is. It could be the Carabao Cup again. It could be the FA Cup. Well, even if it's the Champions League, any cup run is impressive in my opinion. And we don't even have to win it. If Manchester United could constantly keep getting to like the semi-finals or the quarter-finals of these competitions and like maybe lose by 1 goal, it shows that we're progressing. And all I want from this season is progress from last season, whether that's winning a cup like we did when we won the Carabao Cup, and getting more points than we did. Because that's all it is. United got what? I think it was 75, 76 points last season in the Premier League. So if United could accumulate about 80 points this season, it's slowly progressing. And that's where you see the improvement with the squad. And eventually, like I already said, that Erik Ten Hag this season will want to get his established starting 11 like locked down. And that's where I'm excited to see who's involved with the team and who's not. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes has recently been announced as the new captain of Manchester United. Harry Maguire is no longer the captain of Manchester United. I don't know whether we're going to sell him or not. But if we do, I do think that Bruno Fernandes has been deserving of the captaincy for a long time. But Elaine, thank you for your question. And Simon says, 3rd in the League Cup winners. That's it, but enough. I don't really know what you mean, pal. You have to really rephrase what you've said there. But I don't know whether you're saying that's from last season or this season, because that's literally what happened last season for Manchester United. And I do think that if you do mean last season, I do believe that is enough for Erik Ten Hag's first season. It's more than enough. It's blown everyone's expectations. But the issue now is that everyone's going to want him to improve. And I've just been a hypocrite of that. I have literally just said that it's all about improvement. So realistically, you want Erik Ten Hag to win a cup, go deep into another competition like the FA Cup. United also did get to the final of the FA Cup, but lost to City 2-1, and get 3rd in the league, but accumulate more points. So I do believe that this is like the standard that Erik Ten Hag has set himself, which is brilliant because it's a high standard, and that's what you want from your manager. You want your manager to set these high standards because that will eventually rub off onto the players who will set themselves high standards, who want to score more goals, who want to be more accurate and be like idolizing the fan base. Like you look at players like Bruno Fernandes, Lisandro Martinez, these players are absolutely brilliant. Kimmich says that thoughts on Goncalo Ramos. Now, Goncalo Ramos is obviously the Benfica striker. I believe he's 21, 22 years old. And I do feel like that he's very overvalued at Benfica, kind of like how Rasmus Højlund is at Atalanta. But I do think like Goncalo Ramos, I can't hate him because he's better than any striker that we currently have. So that for me, that's what it's all about. I don't care what striker we sign. It could be Højlund, it could be Ramos, it could be Harry Kane, it could be Kolo Muani. Whoever striker Manchester United sign will obviously be better than what we currently have. And that's the way I see it about the progress in the squad. So with Goncalo Ramos, I think he's a very good player. He's not the fastest, but he's a very powerful striker. And once he gets going, he does pick up speed, but his acceleration, kind of like an Kylian Mbappe or a Marcus Rashford, he's not the fastest in that sense. But once he gets going, he is very quick. And he definitely has a good eye for goal, and he's very threatening going forward. Moses also says that Kimmich, Goncalo Ramos is out of the radar for us. Kimmich, definitely. I do love Kimmich. I think he's one of the best players that Bayern Munich have had in recent years, and I definitely will go down as a club legend. I don't think he'll ever leave Bayern Munich. I mean, the fact that he can play right back, centre defensive midfielder, and even progress forward and also become a box-to-box midfielder, and even drop back and play centre half at times. That's what you want from a world-class player who can play multiple positions, but not do it okay, and they can do a job. That he's world-class in every position he plays in. I'd say that the centre back is where he's kind of the weakest, but right back, centre defensive mid is his strongest positions, and he definitely suits that system for Bayern Munich, and I would not be surprised if he doesn't actually leave anywhere. Simon Davis also says that, wow, I never realised you had this intelligence, Dan. It's well said, mind-blowing. Thank you very much. Simon also says that keeper was the main place for me. Get the spine off the team, correct form back to front. I agree on this because it was clear Erik Ten Hag wanted to play out from the back last season with David De Gea, but that was just incapable of David De Gea. He literally, Erik Ten Hag would tell him to kick it right and he would kick it left. It's literally like David De Gea, I love him to bits. I will always respect him. One of the best keepers we've had in our history. The clean sheet record keeper. He's beaten Peter Schmeichel, Edwin van der Sar in clean sheets, and any other keeper we've had in our history. David De Gea should and will go down as one of the greatest keepers we've ever had, whether the fans like him or not. And that's the disrespect for me from our certain fan bases. But definitely Onana is going to give me a heart attack, because if you haven't seen the clips of Andre Onana, what he does is terrifies me. He will literally dribble past the pressing players. Like, if you watch the Champions League final, Onana was getting pressed by Erling Haaland, Bernardo Silva, and Jack Grealish. What does he decide to do instead of kicking the ball out to an Inter Milan player? He dribbles past them like ease and then passes it to an Inter Milan player like it was nothing. Like he wasn't getting pressed by the best team in Europe. He's so confident and I love it. But I just feel like with the way the Premier League is, I just think he needs to take a step back and realise, right, I can't be constantly doing this. If he does it on the odd occasion, obviously it looks brilliant because we've pretty much got a midfielder in net. We've got a player that literally is so accurate with his passes. He's averaging 95 pass completion per 90 minutes. And that's just incredible. And obviously when you're kicking long balls, obviously they are going to be inaccurate times, but he pretty much nails it every single time. And sometimes when his pass incompletion is down, that's because a player just isn't jumping for a ball, or a player isn't receiving it, or it gets intercepted. It's not because it's going out of play or anything, because Andre Onana is very point accurate when it comes to passes. But Simon, I definitely agree with your comment about the goalkeeper being one of the most important positions, because I do feel like that United do desperately need a striker. But with Marcus Rashford, if we don't have, for example, I'm expecting Marcus Rashford to play through the middle tomorrow night against Arsenal. So I'm looking forward to seeing where Marcus Rashford does play and who he plays as the striker. And Simon also says that, where is it? He says that, okay, so how do you see this season coming and ending? Your prediction right now, pal. I would say that for Manchester United, I do think that 4th or 3rd place is the aim. I do think we'll get 4th, because I just think that Newcastle are going to have a nightmare of a season. That's my prediction. But I feel like with City, I feel like with Arsenal, that top 2 is already established. Like Liverpool are going to be coming back for it. They're definitely going to be a threat, I believe. And I do feel like my top 3 is going to be City, who win it 4 times in a row. Arsenal just miss out on it. Manchester United come 3rd and Liverpool come 4th, kind of like how this season ended. But I do think it's going to be a lot closer in the points tally. I think that Man City will go and get just above 90 points, but I think that Arsenal will just miss out on it again, but with high 80 points. And Manchester United and Liverpool will probably get about 80 points as well. And then if United can also win a cup, I would say that maybe win the FA Cup, because I think that we've recently won the Carabao Cup. And I would like to win a different trophy, but I'm not going to be spoiled here. I don't care which trophy we win. I do feel like that a big cup run is kind of important for us, kind of like how Elaine asked me before. And then Nick also says that, hi Dan, popping in, I'll reply to your message after the stream. No worries, mate. And Nick also says that, glad Rashford signed a big deal. Yeah, we've not talked about that. Obviously, Marcus Rashford has signed a new deal for Manchester United, signing a 5-year deal. So he is now with us until 2028. I've kind of got a feeling that Marcus Rashford is going to have the career like David Beckham. He's going to be the Manchester United boyhood player for majority of season. He's going to be in his prime and everything, but I just feel like he's going to get a big money move to Real Madrid or a PSG right at the end of his contract. I just have a gut feeling that's what's going to happen. And then it says correct on De Gea and cool as a cucumber. That's literally exactly how I describe Andre Onana. But anyway, let's go back to the tactics and formation. So no doubt this is how Manchester United are going to set up. We could set up a bit differently, actually. Obviously, we've got the established back four, whether that's Diogo Dalot or Luke Shaw pressing forward. And then we've got where it's going to be the 4-2-3-1, where Mason Mount stays just around the halfway line and then moves forward as we're attacking with the fullback in Diogo Dalot or Wan-Bissaka or Luke Shaw. Or we could set up where Casemiro being the established holding midfielder who stays central and breaks up all the play. And then we could have Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes at kind of like 2 number 8s. And then have Garnacho and Antony almost like that. And then you have the 4-3-3, kind of like how Manchester City play. But with what happens with Manchester City is that, for example, when Bruno Fernandes, who will probably be Bernardo Silva, and Kevin De Bruyne, who's going to be Mason Mount, they move up. You then have Casemiro, and then you have, let's say, Rafael Varane, who's going to be Luke Shaw, who's going to be John Stones. Then that's when they then make a 2 in midfield. They have 3 at the back, and then they almost create a 3-2-4-1 formation. And that's kind of how Man City overload their oppositions, and they have the quality of players to do that. And I feel like Erik Ten Hag kind of wants to go the next step. And instead of having just 2 in midfield, he wants to completely overdo it and have 6 up front. And that's where Erik Ten Hag wants to completely swarm that. Because if you can example, right, let's say Manchester United hit the target, and out of nowhere, what happens is that we're now overloading the opposition. They now then can't pass out. So what they'll have to do is try and hoof the ball over our attackers. But then you've got players like Casemiro, Varane, Martinez, and Luke Shaw almost just swarming them. And when you look at it like this, you've probably even got a player like Onana that's going to be charging for... I can't select Onana. Why can't I select Onana? 1 second. I don't know why I can't select Onana. But, for example, Onana, he'll almost be pressing up here, and he'll almost be like another centre-back. And this is why I'm saying, so with David De Gea would always stay in his box. Onana's going to come rushing out and kick the ball if he needs to. If it does go over the defensive line, he isn't afraid to do that. And that's what the brilliance of Andre Onana is. And that's why he's going to be so important to Manchester United. And this is where, obviously, Simon mentioned it before, by starting off with the spine at the end, at the core of Manchester United. That's where Andre Onana is going to be so important to us. And I'm going to react to Erik Ten Hag's press conference. We are going to be doing the the preview for Arsenal for tomorrow. We're doing it tomorrow morning. It'll probably be out about 10 o'clock in the morning. So stay tuned for that. It will be a normal video. It won't be a live stream. But yeah, stay tuned for that video. And Moses also says that I would hate to see Rashford leave United. You know what, mate? Same, because I feel like Rashford is probably could be one of our greatest players. I do think that he's going to be up there with a player like Wayne Rooney once his career is up. And I would love him to stay at Manchester United for his entire career. But I just have that gut feeling, because you've got teams like Barcelona, Real Madrid, and PSG constantly sniffing around Marcus Rashford, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does move on at some point in his career, which would be awful. Elaine also says that great information, Dan, thank you very much. And Simon also says that I feel it's going to be a strange season. There's been a lot of movement with many big clubs. So we go again, but no one can say Erik ain't the right man for the job. What goes around comes around. And I agree. And obviously, I did mention Liverpool about how they're going to have a very good season. I do believe that they are going to have a good season. But there are fans out there who do believe that this is the end of an era for Liverpool. Like, they've lost Mo Salah, they've lost Gini Wijnaldum, they've now lost Bobby Firmino to the Saudi League. So, and they're now losing Jordan Henderson and Fabinho in their team, and then they've been very important players for Liverpool for so long. And now they haven't got an established holding midfielder. Yes, they are linked to Southampton's Romeo Lavia and Amrabat, like Manchester United, and Caicedo as well. I have spoken to a few Liverpool fans, and they are excited to see how this season does go. But I do believe that what goes around comes around. It definitely is that Manchester United have been waiting for this for the last 8 to 9 years, despite Jose Mourinho winning us the Europa League and the other cup. You've obviously got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who never won us a trophy, But again, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got us playing a bit better football. It was very counter-attacking type football, but Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did get us going. But yeah, I do feel like that this could be an end of an era for Liverpool. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And Simon also says that most definitely you can see Erik Ten Hag. And he also says that you can see that Erik Ten Hag's vision, Dan. He's the man for United, and I'm a blue. I know you're a blue, and you've even said that if Pep Guardiola was to retire and was to leave Man City, you would have Erik Ten Hag as the backup manager, and that's a massive statement, I believe, because obviously City have been one of the most dominant sides in the entirety of been one of the most dominant sides in the entirety of Europe for the last few seasons now. Obviously, they have recently just won a treble, but I do believe that Man City, if they was to get rid of Pep Guardiola was to step down, a City fan turning around and saying that they'd have Erik Ten Hag as their replacement manager is a massive statement, in my opinion. Moses also says that I'm going to be watching the match tomorrow from the Man United app. I've got a Fire Stick, so I will probably be watching it off that. But I also have MUTV, so I'll probably be watching it the same, mate. And Moses also says that Sancho has proved to be in the starting 11 for this season. He's still dull and on and off, and on the off. So with Sancho, I do believe that he is going to be a bench player, and I do believe that actually this is how I'm going to rephrase it. Tomorrow, we will definitely see Manchester United start with Sancho, Antony, and Marcus Rashford as the established front three. I do believe that's what's going to happen. But when we sign an actual striker, Marcus Rashford will then move back onto the left, and that main striker, whether it is Højlund or anyone else, will be the main striker, whether they've got experience or inexperience. Lua says that Tamsin says she believes we should sign Harry Kane because he's a brilliant little player. What do you reckon, Dan? Yeah, Harry Kane is a very brilliant little player. I do think that he would completely revolutionise Manchester United, and I think that it's a shame that obviously Spurs just aren't letting go, but Harry Kane has already said that he's not signing a new contract. He is apparently in talks with Bayern Munich, but if he doesn't go to Bayern Munich, game on a free transfer, offer him 300k a week, right? I would definitely take Harry Kane at Manchester United all day. Moses also says that I have watched the past 2 preseason friendly games. I'm still not pleased with is the game, and we still haven't had that momentum of taking the game in the hand at the first half. I do see your point because United haven't scored in both first halves. Obviously, we had Donny van de Beek scoring on the brink of half-time, just after half-time, with a beautiful volley in the second game against Lyon. And obviously, in the second half against Leeds, it was the youth players who did score. It was Joe Hugill and Noam Emran who did score. But I do feel like as well that people have been calling Mason Mount a flop, but I believe that Mason Mount isn't going to be playing with Hannibal and Kobe Mainoo throughout the season. So this game against Arsenal is where we're going to see the more exciting team. So Moses, I do say I am going to promise you that tomorrow is going to be a very entertaining game. So just hold your horses because it is only pre-season. The fixtures don't matter because realistically, this is how it's going to be. If Arsenal beat Manchester United tomorrow, to United fans, it doesn't matter. And to Arsenal fans, they'll be saying, oh, we've beaten Manchester United. We've beaten Manchester United. And the roles will be reversed. If Manchester United beat Arsenal, we'll be like, oh, we're beating Arsenal. Declan Rice is a flop. Kai Havertz is a flop. Mikel Arteta is shit and all that stuff. That's what we'll be saying. But they'll be then saying the same. What we'll be saying is that, oh, it's only pre-season. And that's the beautiful thing about it, that with pre-season, the fixtures don't matter. It's all about adapting to new tactics, new formations, and that's what's going to happen. And I do believe that it's going to be a very exciting game. I would not be surprised if it ends up a draw because both teams are still working out these new formations because Mikel Arteta is trying to think now, how is he going to fit in Kai Havertz, Declan Rice, into this new team with Martinelli, Saka, Gabriel Jesus, Ødegaard, all these players. He's got a very good job on his hands, I believe. And hopefully we do see Jurrien Timber play tomorrow because I'm a massive fan of Jurrien Timber. And Samuel says a dodgy bastard. I don't know what you mean about that. Louis also says that who's the one Manchester United player, past or present, you want in this starting 11? That's a great question. I would say Wayne Rooney. I just feel like that with Wayne Rooney, he's absolutely incredible. But I'd also take Erik Cantona. I just think that Manchester United do lack that actual striker. And I do believe that with any player past or present, a striker is the best option. But everyone let me know in the comments. That's a great question from Lua on which past or present player you want in this starting 11. And if it is present, I would have to say if I could choose any player, I know you're a fan, Lou. I will say Kylian Mbappe. I will say that. Or Harry Kane. Just like a brilliant striker is what Manchester United are lacking. Simon says, keep laughing. And Louis also says that I've heard you've got Maguire locked in the cupboard. Where do you see him fitting in? I see him fitting very well for West Ham next to Agregard or Ogbonna, whoever their other centre-backs are. I feel like Harry Maguire is made and fit for West Ham. I do think he's on the way out because Manchester United are linked to, I start getting to link back to centre-backs again. We are linked to this Axel Desai, I believe he is called, for Monaco. So he looks like he's an all right centre-back. And even if we're signing Johnny Evans on a 1 year contract, Johnny Evans is going to play over Harry Maguire. So that's literally like, right, you and the missus have been divorced, but you're still living in the house because you both have your name on the house. And what's happened is that she's then come back with a high school friend who's the quiet, ugly kid in the back, who's still quiet and ugly. And they've been to the pub, we've had a few drinks, and they go upstairs and you're sat there watching Coronation Street with your feet up, with a packet of like custard creams or whatever, dunking in your brew. And then you just hear it upstairs. That's literally like Erik Ten Hag coming home with Johnny Evans. Harry Maguire's just sat there with his feet up, dunking his biscuits in his tea, and he just sees him going upstairs. And I just feel sorry for Harry Maguire. But that's literally the best comparison I can come with that situation. But I do feel like Harry Maguire is on his way out. Simon Davis also says that it means nothing. The points all look the same on the board. Not necessarily, because I do feel like that the more points you accumulate, you know, you see the team get better. It's like Manchester City. They've done when they got the Centurions, when they got the 100 points. No other team has ever been able to do that. They've been very close with like 99 points and stuff, but no other team has done that. So I still reckon that City is the best City side they've had. Erling Haaland has just broken the Premier League goal scoring record, but they didn't get 100 points. So this is where I'm saying that Erling Haaland, despite him being a brilliant goal scorer, he's still not better than a player like Harry Kane. Because I feel like with a player like Harry Kane, Man City win way more games. Moses also says that, to me, it matters, be it friendly or not. I take everything seriously, mate. And that's a brilliant thing to have. I believe that's about the way Erik Ten Hag also wants to instruct into his players. I agree with you. I do want to win every single game. But realistically, I do take a step back with preseason because I'm like, as long as we see more exciting football and we see the players actually adapting to the tactics, that's all I want to see, because we're not earning any points, we're not earning any trophies. So definitely that will be brilliant in my opinion. And Simon also says that fire stick. Moses also says that I would want RVP in the starting 11. Robert Van Persie, very good choice. Simon says pre-season. And Lewis says, see you Sunday, Dan. Love you. Keep up the good work, my guy. Much love as always. Yes, mate, I'll see you in work on Sunday. I don't want to be back. Don't show the boss this. But yeah, I really don't want to come back, mate. I've enjoyed my time off too much. Luca, how are you doing, pal? Saying, how are you? I'm very good, mate. How are you? Obviously, Luca, being an Arsenal fan, I do look forward to a good game tomorrow. Simon also says that it's a metaphorical version of flopping your wedding tackle in an alligator's mouth and flick his love spuds with a wet towel. I have no idea what you're on about, but whatever. And Red Devil Studio, nice to see you, pal. Obviously, I'd like to come on your channel at some point, but yes, mate, obviously, nice to see you. And Moses also says, I do you work Sundays too. My job is very inconsistent when it comes to my schedule. Obviously, I've just scheduled in when I need to work, so I do work the 30 hours to 35 hours a week. And yes, I am put on weekends at times, whether that is Sunday and Saturdays. It really depends on when the boss needs me. And it says, what are you reading? I have no idea, mate, to be honest. But yeah, everyone, thank you for watching. Obviously, we are talking about the tactics for next season, but it's been a great stream. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in tonight. I'm off to get my tea. But yes, obviously, stay tuned tomorrow morning for the tactical preview for Manchester United versus Arsenal, and we'll also be doing the match reaction, which will be I'm trying to think now, which will probably be coming out about midnight. So yeah, I do believe that we are going to have a bit of good content coming up. Stay tuned. We want to get some more guests on the channel, so if you know everyone that wants to come on Manchester United, wants to come on the podcast or channel, let me know and we'll get in touch and we'll get you on the channel. So if anyone wants to join, you're more than welcome to, because this is our community. Make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe if you are new. I want to say, everyone, thank you for watching. Have a good evening and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.